Hi, I'm Jessica, and that's the one thing I never forget. So today I was going to do a hair tutorial and whatnot, but I feel kind of pants and those take a lot of energy. So instead I thought I would sit down and we would have a chat about how I can't remember yesterday or the day before, and I'm not entirely sure what day it is today. So I have a disability that affects my nerves and my muscles and my hearing and various other things, and causes a lot of fatigue, which then affects memory. Now, even though I was born with this condition, I wasn't actually diagnosed until I was 17, when I paralysed both of my arms for 1.5 years. And they rushed me into hospital. I had a whole load of procedures to check what had happened, because it can be a variety of things. And one thing they checked to make sure it wasn't was a brain tumour, and to do that they had to take my spinal fluid through a lumbar puncture, which is where they put a needle into your back and suck out some of your spinal fluid, the fluid that goes around your spine and then up around your brain. And they took some of it out, but they hadn't realised that they'd left holes, and the rest of my spinal fluid leaked out through these holes into my body, which is not great, because then your brain is effectively like dying. So although I'd previously had a few memory problems, but not anything really big, when I was very tired it was quite hard to remember things. After this, oh my memory, oh dear, because parts of my brain died because they were so dehydrated. Not all of it, which is good, obviously. Part of the bit that no longer worked is the section that makes very short-term memories. So you have different types of memory. You've got your long-term memory, which is, you're thinking back to your childhood. It's the deeply ingrained stuff that, weirdly, when you're super old, that's the only stuff you can remember. Like, my grandfather started speaking Swedish when he was over 90, because those are the memories that come back. You've got your mid-term memory, which is the stuff that's like, hanging around. The last year, the last few months, things that have been going on, so you can probably remember back quite well what you're doing last month. And then you've got your short-term memory, which is right now, this minute, remembering what you did earlier this morning, what you had for breakfast. And that's the part of my memory that it's not great. It's not great. So while I know where I live, I know who my wife is, I know that we're married, the things that I have difficulty with are, for instance, I will put my phone down and then I will have absolutely no clue where it is. If you can imagine, everyone gets that thing where they walk into the kitchen and think, oh, why did I come in here? The reason for that is something to do with the threshold. It's because you've changed place. You've gone into a different room and your brain has switched track, thinking, now we're in the kitchen. So you can't quite remember the thought that you had in the hallway about why you wanted to go into the kitchen. And that's pretty common and it happens a lot. But for me, the thought when I'm standing in the hallway of why I need to go in the kitchen, it isn't just that I forget it when I enter the kitchen and it can then be remembered, it's that it just is gone. It just doesn't create that memory and then stick it in my brain. If a memory is created, I often have a lot of difficulty with discerning exactly when that memory is from. So I'm looking for something, say my compact mirror, and I have a very clear visual memory of using my contact mirror inside a taxi, sitting in the back of a taxi. That's great, but is that memory from earlier today? Is that why I can't find it? Did I leave it there in the taxi? Why was I in a taxi anyway? Or is that memory from yesterday and I did use my compact mirror and then I brought it home and then I put it somewhere within my home? Or is that memory from last year? Did I just completely make that memory up and my compact mirror is in my pocket? As a result of this, I obviously then have to write absolutely everything down. I have written down my notes for this video. And I have to write it down as soon as I have the thought. The thought is, oh, must reply to my father, which I'm now saying in a video so that he knows I do actually think and intend to respond to his messages. Sorry, Dad. So, do have to reply to my father, and I will remember this suddenly, write it down. I must write it down this very second, because if I do not write it down, I will move on. So my house is littered with scraps of paper that I have torn from something and written down the incredibly important message. It's also to do with important things like having to go to the bank or hospital appointment. Remember, you have a hospital appointment at this time. So I try to keep the pieces of paper, once I've written them, in an easy place that I can spot it. So I'll know that I then have to look at the piece of paper to remember the thing that is on. But I have to remember to look at the piece of paper to remember the thing that is on the piece of paper, and that's not always great and helpful. But the main way I cope is with visuals, with my tiny bits of paper. I have to write lists, and I have a weekly planner, and I know that I have to look at my weekly planner. I forget a lot of the time that I have to look at my weekly planner, but I at least know that important things will be on my weekly planner. So if there is a nudge at the back of my brain, like, there's something I meant to be doing, there's something I meant to remember, I at least know to go and check my weekly planner, where hopefully things will be written down. And I always write down my weekly planner with the aid of other people, whether that is my wife, Claudia, who's wonderful, or Clara, who is my assistant in all things. And then they will remind me about the weekly planner. I'll be like, oh yeah, this isn't to say that I can't create new memories, that I can't make short-term memories. It's just that they don't all get created. How do I remember people's names and other important facts? Well, as long as on 10 separate occasions they are drilled into my brain, at least one of them's got to stick. Yeah. No, okay, probably like 3 or 4 times of those 10, it will stick. So Claudia will talk me through something and be like, oh yeah, this person is now dating this person. And I'm like, oh. 2 minutes later, is so-and-so still single? No, Jessica, this person is now dating this person. Oh, okay, right. Yeah, it goes on. I'm not going to do the whole thing for you. But out of those 10, probably 3 of the times I hear this piece of information. Oh, okay, right, good. That's in there now. Routine things are the easiest to do, however. Putting my makeup on. I know all the stages to do it, so it gets done in exactly the same order every time. I mean, if something's missing, it will throw me off. When it comes to remembering stuff, one of the most important things in my life is obviously medication. I take a variety of medications. You can find out more about that here. This card above. I can't even remember whether that's the right side. This is the stuff I normally cut out of videos, just so you know. The old Jessica has forgotten bits, but I'm leaving them in. Medication on my phone. So I have a medication alarm set on my phone, so I will remember to take my medication 3 times a day. The problem is, it goes off, and I look at it, and I turn it off, and I can't remember then whether I've actually done it or not. And each day has a little slots, and so I can look at it and visually go, oh, I haven't taken it. But of course that only works if you then remember to look at the medication slots, which is again why I have other people in my life who will then very handily remind me over and over. Or just my medication alarm goes off and Clara will like bring my medication and put it in my hand. And then Claudia comes home from work, did you take your medication today? Probably. Now you might have got to this point and be like, gosh Jessica, that just sounds pretty normal. That sounds like me. I too am a forgetful human being. And there's nothing wrong with me, I'm just a bit scatterbrained. I'm like, well, okay, that's cool. One of the biggest problems with having memory issues is that all people are slightly forgetful every now and then. We all forget something. So if I try and explain to someone that actually it's quite a bad memory problem, it's very detrimental to my life. It's not like I just forget the odd thing now and again. I just... See, I forgot the end of my sentence. Again, stuff I would cut out, but we're not. Because they think that like, oh, well, I'm a bit forgetful too. That's just life. And I'm like, that's great, but I don't know the day of the week or the month. I'm not even 100% positive what year it is. Oh, number 10. Does it bother me more than anything else? Yes, it really does. I'm quite fine with having physical problems. I'm quite fine with the chronic pain. I'm quite fine with bits of me that stop working. Deafness. I mean, I wouldn't say it's great. Obviously it would be, and health. Yeah, it would obviously be very helpful to my life if I didn't have chronic illness and disabilities and deafness and a bit of blindness. That would all be helpful if it wasn't here. But I could cope. I can cope. It's fine. But memory, because it's such a core part of yourself. Your memory is who you are. It is your it is hugely frustrating. I hate it. I hate the constant, I go up and downstairs so much. I'm going to go downstairs and I'm going to get this from my bag. I'm going to get a drink as well. And then I get down there and I'm like, thirsty. I'm thirsty. I'm going to get a drink. And then I get my drink and I go back up the stairs and I reach the top and I'm like, wait a minute. Vague memory, forgotten something. And then I get into my bedroom and then I look down. Maybe it's on my phone. And my phone is like halfway through something. I'm like, oh, I need to go and tell my friend the ticket number on the ticket in my handbag because I'm halfway through writing the message to her in which I say my ticket number is. So then I bring my whole handbag upstairs, sit in my bedroom, my computer. My computer, and I see what I was doing on my computer. I'm like, oh, I was halfway through this. So I start doing that, and then something happened. I'm like, oh. And then I look in my handbag, and I'm like, oh look, there's a ticket. Oh, I was halfway through a message doing just that. It takes so much time. It is scary and upsetting. It's especially scary when you sometimes turn around and find yourself in a place and you have no idea how you got there or why you're there. Because I've had that before, where I'm just suddenly in town. It's also annoying when it comes to things like household chores. Claudia will ask me to do something, and I'll be like, yes, I will write that down on my list. And then it doesn't happen, and then she comes home in the evening and asks me to do something, and I'm just like, ah. But you know what? The best way to cope with those feelings is to take them and then just set them aside. Being upset and frustrated and angry about a situation I have no control over does nothing but bring bad feelings to me, and so I don't need that. In some ways I have a defense mechanism where I'm just like, oh well. I just go through life, I'm a bit, ditzy. So then to some people it can come off as being just doing it on purpose. But actually, I'm just kind of happy with who I am because it is just who I am. The easiest things to remember are things that I have created myself, ideas that I have had. I write books and stories. It's a work in progress. I'm working on it. Anyway, and I can probably tell you a lot more about fictional characters than I can real people that I know quite well because of the repetition. So if you tell me your birthday once, the likelihood that I will remember it is not that high. If you tell me your birthday 10 times, you have a higher chance that I'll remember it. Whilst I'm creating a character in my head, I will think long and hard about their birthday, and the number of times that I have thought about it and the thought that I have put into it means that it will stick. Which is why I have an app on my phone that tells me whenever it is anyone's birthday and also sends flowers to various people for me, without me having to do anything. Because just because I don't remember you doesn't mean I don't love you. So, the last and most important part of this video, how can you, someone who potentially doesn't have memory problems, help someone who does have memory problems? Number 1, be patient. That really is the top of the list. Let the person try and remember something. If it's taking them a long time, you wait. And then, if they need help, you fill in the gaps. That's number 2. Fill in the gaps, always. Don't say, oh, it doesn't matter. Don't say, oh, you don't really need to remember that anyway. You're taking something away from that person. I want that information that you have, that I had, that is now no longer mine. Don't get cross if they forget things you've asked them to do. Don't get cross if they forget an important date or your birthday. I remember my birthday because it's exactly 1 month after Christmas Day, and I make sure everyone else remembers that too. Don't change the plan without informing the person that you've changed the plan, even if they don't remember the earlier plan. Now, this is just common courtesy. Again, it's that feeling of personhood, independence, being your own person. It's the same as people who have dementia. Don't treat them like they are lesser just because they can't always understand and remember things. Don't feel bad about repeating things. Clara says this a lot. She, when we very first started working together, was nervous about being annoying. So she didn't want to tell me something 5 times in a row, even though I hadn't done the thing or responded the first 4 times. And it's genuinely not annoying if you repeat something, because I don't remember the earlier times that you did it. So you're good. Repeat away. This is my final one. It's probably the most helpful one, and that is to communicate in writing. Since I'm deaf, most of my communication is done in writing. People will send me messages with a time, a date, a place. I'm like, yeah, brilliant. Now I know what's going on. Don't worry about sending me multiple texts. It's fine. I'm really sorry if I don't respond to your message on my Instagram or on YouTube or something, because I would love to, but I don't always have the spoons and I forget. So yes, communicate in writing and send reminders. If the person you're dealing with who has a memory problem, you normally chat over the phone, just send them any important information that you talked about, even if it is gossip. Even if it's like, did you know that Susie and Johnny are not dating anymore? And the person's like, oh my god, this is amazing news, so good. Just send a text afterwards. So, if you have memory problems or you know someone who does, what are your tips? What would you like to share? Please put them down below in the comments. Also, just share your story around memory, whether you are just someone who is slightly forgetful or you're someone who, like me, has no idea what day it is. Connections and finding a shared story is one of the things that brings us together. Now, do also remember that this is my own experience. I'm just talking about my life. If you have memory problems and there isn't a clear reason, that you don't have chronic fatigue and you've been diagnosed with anything, but it does worry you, please do go and see your doctor. Don't just take medical advice from YouTube, because it could be a symptom of a larger problem that you should get checked out. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a little like, and if you are new here, then please do subscribe. It would be lovely. Bye bye, my darlings.